Ladies and gentlemen, there is something powerful about the lion, not just in its roar, not just in its mighty strength or its majestic walk, but in its mentality. The lion, though not the largest in the jungle, not the fastest, not even the most intelligent, rules the land. Why? Because of how it thinks. The lion has a different spirit. And today I want to speak to you about developing that lion mentality. You see, the lion is not governed by fear. It is driven by purpose. When the lion wakes up, it doesn't wonder if it can survive. It knows it was born to dominate. And I ask you, what if we lived like that? What if we woke up every morning with the mind of a lion? With boldness, with clarity, with authority. Not because we are perfect, but because we know who we are. And more importantly, why we are here. The lion does not follow the crowd. It walks alone when necessary. It doesn't need to be the loudest. It just needs to be the most focused. Many today are tossed about by the opinions of others, afraid to step out, to speak truth, to pursue greatness. But the lion teaches us, if you know your calling, walk in it with confidence. Don't wait for others to understand your journey. They weren't given your vision. Now hear this. Lion mentality is not arrogance. It is not pride. It is inner strength rooted in identity. The lion does not chase every noise in the jungle. It reserves its energy for purpose. You don't have to prove yourself to everyone. You just need to stay focused on the mission. Even when the storm rages, the lion is not moved. And in your life, there will be storms, financial, emotional, spiritual. But you must learn to stand. Not because you're strong on your own, but because you've been designed to endure. The lion knows when to fight and when to wait. Sometimes the greatest show of power is patience. So I challenge you today, adopt the lion mentality. Walk with purpose, speak with clarity, live with conviction. Let fear take a back seat. Let doubt lose its grip. And let the world see what happens when a person decides to live with courage, vision, and discipline. When we talk about the lion mentality, the first thing we must understand is this. The lion does not live in fear. It is not driven by hesitation. It doesn't second-guess itself when opportunity or challenge stands before it. Instead, the lion operates from a place of deep instinct, clarity, and unwavering purpose. It is not the biggest, not the tallest, and not even the smartest animal in the wild, yet it is the one all others respect. Why? Because it walks in the authority of its purpose. Fear is a powerful force. It paralyzes vision, it clouds judgment, and it robs many of the very life they were born to live. Fear whispers lies, telling you you're not enough, you're not ready, you'll fail. It exaggerates the risk and minimizes your ability to rise, but purpose is louder. Purpose says you were made for this. It says there's a reason you're here. It ignites your spirit and gives direction to your steps. The lion does not ask the antelope if it's okay to hunt. It doesn't pause in anxiety about the possibility of failure. It sees what it was designed to do, and it does it with force. That's the difference between those who live on the edge of their potential and those who walk boldly in their destiny. One is waiting for fear to subside. The other moves because purpose is greater than fear. Too many today live in the shadows of doubt, waiting for perfect conditions, for guarantees, for applause. But lions don't need permission, and neither should you. If you know what burns in your heart, if you know the path laid before you is worthy, then you must step. You must move, not because you are fearless, but because you are purposeful. The presence of purpose does not eliminate fear. It simply makes it irrelevant. There is a lion inside you. You were not created to crawl when you were born to stand tall. But that lion must be awakened. It must be stirred through vision, strengthened by discipline, and unleashed by bold decisions. That only happens when purpose becomes your compass. When you stop letting fear be the gatekeeper of your future and start letting purpose take the lead. Look around. Every significant breakthrough in history, every innovation, every movement that changed lives was born from someone who refused to bow to fear. They may have felt it, but they refused to serve it. They were led by something higher, something stronger, something eternal. Purpose. When the lion surveys its territory, it does not flinch. It knows the ground it stands on is its domain. And when you know your calling, when you know the value of your assignment, you stop tiptoeing through life. You stop hiding behind excuses. You rise not because of how strong you feel, but because of how certain you are that your life has meaning. We live in a world that feeds fear. News, media, comparison, doubt. They all conspire to make us shrink, to make us second-guess the fire inside. But the lion doesn't check the opinions of the hyenas before it roars. It doesn't apologize for its presence, and neither should you. Your voice, your gift, your presence, it matters. Not everyone will understand it. Not everyone will support it. But that doesn't make it any less real. Purpose gives you the courage to act when others hesitate. It gives you the resilience to stand when others fall. It turns setbacks into stepping stones and pain into fuel. The lion may get wounded in the wild, but it doesn't surrender its identity, and neither should you. Purpose is not about being fearless. It's about being committed. It's about saying, even if I'm uncertain, I'll move forward anyway. You cannot fulfill destiny while serving fear. You cannot chase greatness while bowing to doubt. At some point, you must choose. Will you let fear dictate your future, or will you let purpose define your path? The lion has already answered that question with how it lives, how it leads, and how it lasts. It's time we do the same. Let me know if you'd like this recorded as a voiceover or adapted for YouTube, podcast, or Instagram content. The lion walks with a quiet authority, not because it announces its power, but because it knows who it is. Confidence and identity is one of the greatest strengths of the lion mentality. It doesn't try to be something it's not. It doesn't compare itself to the eagle in the sky or the elephant in the field. It doesn't strive to prove anything to the animals around it. It simply operates out of its nature, out of a deep understanding of what it is and what it is not. That's the power of identity. When you know who you are, you no longer need validation from the world to act with courage. You're no longer tossed back and forth by opinions, trends, or approval. You stop chasing applause and start chasing purpose. And in a world filled with noise and distractions, with voices telling you who you should be, how you should look, what you should believe, there is nothing more powerful than someone who walks in unwavering confidence in their God-given identity. We live in a generation where many are exhausted, not because they're not capable, but because they're constantly performing, constantly adapting, constantly trying to meet expectations they were never designed to carry. Like a lion trying to fly or a bird trying to roar, they exhaust their strength trying to fit into someone else's mold. But confidence begins when you stop striving to become something you're not and start standing firm in what you were created to be. The lion doesn't ask permission to be a lion. It just is. It lives, it leads, it hunts, it rests, all with a quiet boldness. It doesn't roar all the time, but when it does, the jungle pays attention. Likewise, you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to dominate a room to have influence. You just need to live from the truth of who you are, not the insecurity of who you're pretending to be. So many people today are lost, not because they lack potential, but because they lack clarity. They've been shaped by external forces, defined by failures, labeled by others, and stuck in cycles that reinforce a false version of themselves. And when you don't know who you are, you settle for less. You allow fear to define your limits. You allow people to tell you how high you can go, how far you can stretch, what dreams you're allowed to chase. But once you understand your true identity, everything changes. You begin to walk differently. You begin to speak with more weight. You no longer accept average because you weren't made for it. You begin to choose relationships, habits, and goals that align with your identity, not just your emotions. When the lion sees prey, it doesn't second guess if it's capable of pursuing. It simply acts not from arrogance, but from instinct, confidence, and clarity. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not what the critics say. And you are certainly not the sum of your fears. Confidence and identity means looking in the mirror and recognizing the potential planted inside of you. It's knowing that you were not created randomly or by accident, but with precision, with a plan, and with purpose. That kind of awareness makes you dangerous, not to others, but to doubt, to fear, to every obstacle trying to keep you small. There is no room for imitation and greatness. You cannot copy your way to fulfillment. You cannot impersonate your way to impact. You were given a unique voice, a unique story, a unique calling. That uniqueness is your power. Embracing it, owning it, and walking in it, that is the essence of lion mentality. Lions do not envy. Lions do not imitate. They lead by presence, by consistency, and by self-awareness. Confidence and identity also means you stop apologizing for your strength. You stop shrinking when you should stand. Some people won't be comfortable with your growth. They won't understand your decisions. They may even mislabel your confidence as pride. But that's not your concern. Go. Your responsibility is not to be palatable to everyone. It is to be faithful to the identity and calling you've been given. Just like the lion isn't threatened by the noise of the jungle, you must not be threatened by the doubt around you. Noise doesn't change identity. Opinions don't alter design. And fear doesn't redefine calling. When you know who you are, you stop reacting. You start responding. You stop chasing approval. You start commanding respect. That's what happens when confidence is built on identity. It's not a feeling. It's a foundation. It doesn't crumble in failure, and it doesn't inflate in success. It stays rooted. That's the mindset that wins. That's the mindset that leads. That's the mindset that lasts.